Welcome back. So we've been spending a lot of good time talking about some purpose, we've been talking about some personality results, and a lot of this has to do with you and how you're wired. And we've been talking about why you want to get into real estate. We've talked about this big belief, this purpose that's going to guide you throughout life. But certainly there's things you want for yourself in your first year in real estate, in your second year of real estate, some goals that you're going to have for yourself. Goals are super powerful because it gives us a sense of direction, a sense of purpose, something we're working towards in the day-to-day. Now, obviously, if you can tie your why to the goals, those are some super powerful goals. Now, anyone can come up with a goal just by sitting down and thinking, but I'm curious, what quality type of goals are you writing for yourself? Here's some examples of some really quick goals someone might come up with that they want to accomplish for themselves. They may say, I want to be healthier and run a marathon. They may say, I want to make 6 figures in real estate. And they might say, I want to go on more trips with my family this year. Now, all great things, but there's an issue with that. That's easy to say, but how do you know what to do? How do you know how to get there, to actually achieve that goal? Just coming up with a want list for your list of goals is not enough. There are some powerful tools we're going to go over in this session and the next few to not only help you set good goals, but goals that you can execute, goals you can achieve. We're going to be using the SMART goal filter today. SMART is an acronym that helps us craft better goals when we're sitting down and saying, what do I want to accomplish? We're going to take these 3 examples, we're going to put them through the filter once I've explained it to you, and show you what a better sounding goal might look like, or sound like. So the SMART, this acronym, let's dive into that. The first S of SMART stands for specific. This states what you will do. And you should be using some action words when you're naming your goal. So many times we're just too vague with saying, I just want to make more. More is a very vague statement. Maybe we should replace that with, I want to increase production by 10%. We can't measure more, but we can measure 10%, and there's something powerful about getting specific like that. Being healthier, what does that even mean? Well, we got to get more specific with how you're going to be healthier. How are you going to get to running a marathon? Just saying it is not going to make it come true. So if you can be more specific with how you're laying out these goals, it helps you identify the controllable metrics within that statement. This is a nice segue, because when you get specific, you're forced to come up with the M of SMART, which is measurable. Whatever goal you come up with, do you have the means to measure your progress? Can you identify metrics that you will keep track of on a regular basis to say, I am 30% on the way to my goal? Without measurables, with a goal, I should say, that can't be measured, how are you going to know where you're at? How are you going to know where you stand? How do you know if you're ahead, if you're behind? Your goals have to be measurable. You have to stop and articulate what are the measurables. So if you're training for a marathon or you want to be healthier, what are the measurables? Let's stop and think critically about that. Well, it's going to probably be how often you're working out, how long, the intensity, your calories that you put into your body, how many you're burning off, how often you're running, how far you're running to start. Those are measurables that we should be aware of to actually track a goal. And those measurables should be built into the goal as we're writing it. The A in SMART goals. Attainable. Is this goal attainable? Here is a moment for us to really sit down and think critically and say, can I actually do this with where I'm at right now? I could easily write down, I want to buy a private jet in the next year. Well, let's really sit down here and say, Connor, is that possible? Well, no, with where you're at, there's a lot that needs to happen before you can make that goal a reality. Let's look back at the marathon example. You want to be healthier and run a marathon? Well, when's the marathon? Next month. Have you been training at all? No. Okay, this might not be the most attainable goal for you to be considering right now. Let's recalibrate, let's refocus, let's make sure the goals in the time frame we want to accomplish them actually are possible for ourselves. So, we got specific, measurable, attainable. What's the R stand for? Relevant. Is the goal relevant with where you're at right now? That whole goofy private jet example, that is not relevant with where Connor's at in life right now. That's just a pipe dream so far away. I shouldn't be focusing on that type of goal that's just so far out there and not relevant to where I'm at right now. Is a goal you're coming up with closely associated with what you're currently doing in life? Is there relevance there? That's something to consider, because if a goal is going to force you to completely upend your day-to-day life and what's important to you, there's a good chance you're going to struggle with it. That means it's not relevant. So what's that final T stand for in SMART? T stands for timely. You've got to have a finish line. I very well could say I want a private airliner, a private jet, and I need to have a finish line for when I actually want to accomplish that. Now maybe I do say 5 years from now, I intend to have this private jet dream, which I'm totally making up off the top of my head. Let's go back to that marathon example. Maybe you say, I want to be ready to run the insert the year, it's 2020 right now, let's say it's the 2021 marathon. Let's say you're ready to run the marathon coming up next year. You want to be set to crush it. There's your finish line. There is a deadline that this must be done by. Without a finish line, we're often just left adrift, not really giving this thing any focus. And it's hard to focus when there's no end in sight. So giving ourselves that timeline gives us some clarity on what we have to do and how much time we have to do it. My goodness, deadlines sound so gross, but let's call them finish lines. Not everyone likes the word deadline, but a finish line. A finish line for accomplishment is something we should be building into every goal we create. There's the SMART filter for you. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. Anytime you come up with a goal, put it through this filter and say, is there any way I can make this goal better? How can I articulate this more effectively? So let's come back to these 3 goals I talked about at the beginning of this session. I want to be healthier and run a marathon after we put it through the SMART filter might sound something more like, I will run daily in the morning and track my calories to get into shape for the marathon on May 14th of next year. From I want to be healthier and run a marathon to I will run daily in the morning and track my calories to get into shape for the marathon on May 14th of next year. Way more specific, way more actionable, something you can actually work with versus just a broad, vague statement. What about I want to make 6 figures through real estate? Well, one way this could sound if we put it through the SMART filter would be something like, I will join a referral group with the goal to give out 8 referrals a month and ask for the same in return. This will give me enough potential clients to pen at least 20 deals and make around $60K in my first year. So if we see here, we went from 6 figures and said, maybe in our first year that's not realistic right now. With my splits, with where I'm at, let's just start with a good first year's living and build up from there. So maybe, again, we get relevant, we get more specific, and we say, I'm okay with $60,000 when I look at what 20 deals could equate to, and we change it up. And we also define how we're going to execute this goal. In this case, let's do a referral group. How about that third goal we talked about at the top of this? I want to go on more trips this year. Sounds nice once again, right? But how do you act on that? What do you do with that? Let's put that through the SMART filter, and we get, I will store away 10% of my paychecks into a travel account. This account must always have at least $5,000 in it before I can use it for any trips. Another way you could say that with SMART goals is, I will set aside $500 a month for the travel account to go on quarterly family trips. There must at least be $1,500 in the account before the end of each respective quarter. Those specifics, those measurables, the timetables, in this case quarters, where you must get to 1,500 each time before you can access it. Those are powerful mechanisms for us to track, measure, and achieve goals. All through the SMART filter, making us think more critically about the goals we come up with for ourselves. So take some time right now. Make a list of goals you want to accomplish. Maybe you already have. Go back to that list. Grade yourself. Say, are these SMART goals or not? And put them through this filter process. See if you can come up with something more actionable, something more specific, something that you can work with. Good luck.